So a friend asked me the other day how much I budget for travel. So I thought I would share with you all because I'm sure many of you are curious. The short answer is about 15,000 of my $40,000 a year for fire, but I'll go into more depth about all the other things I have budgeted for. So to start with, my fire plan is based on 40K a year spend. Once I figured out that other early retirement calculator that lets you pretty much spend down your money to zero, I realized I could go up to 70 to 75K a year. But for now, much of my based spending is on that lower amount. For the most part, I kind of think of it as a minimum spend, but again, just when I do my default budgets and expenses, I base it off that 40K with just kind of flexibility to flex up to this amount. So from the 40K, I did my core expenses, which is 25K, and that was based on historical spending. So nothing I had to cram or fit into a particular budget. I just use what I've been tracking for the last few years, and that's about what it turns out to be. And then since I still had remainder after the 40K, I just left that up to the 15K. So I'm not someone who's still trying to be super frugal in early retirement. I'm just trying to actually use the money I spent because I don't have any heirs or anybody to leave it to. So that puts me in a little bit of a unique position and something I'm really happy about. So that's kind of where I start. And then this year, like I said, after I realized I could flex up a little bit and the market seemed to be doing really well, I was more comfortable spending a little bit more. So my core expenses don't change. What does change here is the 25K. So it used to be 15K. For 2026, I feel comfortable flexing it up by another 10K. And instead of working backwards with just doing what was left over, so the 40 minus the 25 equals 15 here, this year I actually looked at what I wanted to spend. And the 2026 travel plans that I have put me around the 20 to 25K mark. So I just went ahead and bumped that up a little bit. And that would have made it 50, which is a nice round number. But for some reason, even though I have my whole nest egg as a buffer, I still like having this. I think it's going to take a while to undo that mentality of having just like extra cash around. Like I said, the whole nest egg is a buffer, but I just like having this in case I go over or for other things. So as you can see up here, I kind of just do a catch-all bucket for lifestyle, travel, healthcare, because who knows, that's just, I think of this bucket as disposable income, and I don't have it mapped out to everything exactly. So I still liked having that catch-all bucket for things outside of travel for next year. So that's why I went ahead and just tacked on that 5K. That number is pretty arbitrary. I mean, 5K just seems like a good number to have readily available for cash. So it's not tied to anything. I think I kind of figured that might be I could use it for a deductible or just an expense where I wouldn't I would feel comfortable having it cash and wouldn't want to pull out some investments. So that could be any number. I could have done the same 15K, but that just seemed too much. So that's how that started. To go back into sort of how I came up with the core expenses. Again, this is just historical spending. My rent is $1,005. My utilities have been 60 for the last 2 years. My internet's 52. So total for housing is the over $1,100. My car insurance is high. It's going to be high for about another year. I'm not someone that actually shops car insurance every year. I know it's something that people say, but insurance is just one of those things I abhor. So that's my that's my gimme. I shop for it once, and then if it starts to get too high, I'll reshop. But I know I'm going to keep this insurance until that new car replacement insurance coverage is no longer valid. So that'll be, let's see, about 2027. So I have another year. So with housing plus car insurance, my monthly subtotal for just bills is 1,300. $55, and then I have some annual expenses that I know I have to pay, and that's just a lump sum. But I don't know if you say amortize over monthly payments. That's about $360. So that's to register my car every year. I have to take continuing education credits to maintain my license. So all of that is 361. When I add that all together, that's about $1,400. And then this allowance, it's been different amounts. I started it off when I was in pharmacy school. I wasn't tracking my expenses, so I was just budgeting on vibe. So I just started with an amount I thought I was spending. And then over time, it just lowered based on actual spending because I would have leftover money in that bucket. And so it's been fine tuned just last year from 800 down to 700 because I wasn't spending it all. And then that just gave it an easy round number of the 25K. So I think it was at 26K with the $800 a month. So this is sort of another catch-all. I use this for groceries, eating out, gas, things I might need around the house, any kind of like local entertainment, and that's worked really well for me. As you can see, I can't get too granular in my budget. It's just more for just keeping track and making sure my money isn't going to nonsense. So the nonsense at least is contained in this monthly allowance. So just for those basic expenses, I can live pretty comfortably for about 25K a year. And like I said, I just kind of worked backwards. Since I knew I had about 40K a year to spend, I needed to spend 25K just to maintain my current standard of living. That left about 15K, so I just allocated that to everything else, and I did that as extras. Healthcare came up on there since I wasn't sure how much Marketplace would cost or what my healthcare needs would be. So I went ahead and added that to the catch-all bucket. Now that I've done about half a year without employer insurance, I have a better idea, but that's still a flex bucket because, for example, this year I started off with, I have a little bit of Cobra for dental, and then I have Marketplace for medical, but then I learned about Medicaid, and now that's down to zero. And I know I'll only have Medicaid for a maximum of one more year in 2026 because I won't meet the requirements anymore. So that's why that's still a little bit of a flex. And that's why I feel a little bit more comfortable spending a little bit more in 2026 for vacation because otherwise that money would have gone to health insurance. So yeah, that's kind of that buffer. And for just a preview for my travel for next year, I have paid a deposit for Croatia and Canada, and then the Asian cruise is November 2026, which is still so far away. And I'm planning to book that January of 2026. So it does help that I have an idea of what I want to spend so I can plan accordingly. That just speaks to how I do my life in general. I like to plan as much as possible. Even if I don't follow it, I just still like having sort of a default plan to fall back on. In terms of, is it harder to spend money now that I'm not working? It's not. I thought it would be. I will say the Asian cruise was kind of putting me over the 15K because it's going to be a pricey little cruise. And I thought about, well, initially I wanted it to be in 2027 because it just felt like too much with both of these other trips. But then it was unclear when they were going to have that exact same itinerary again. Maybe it is every other year, but they didn't have it for 2025 and they don't have it for 2027. So I figured I'd rather have it in 2026 than wait till 2028. So I just went ahead and did it. And then once I knew about that increased lever that I could lever up for my expenses, that made it that much easier. And after a while, I just did kind of accept it like, oh, well, I mean, it's unlikely I'll keep spending this amount. I mean, even if I did want to, I can, right? So, yeah, that's kind of how I did that. And I just still kept that 5K in case Marketplace, I mean, who knows what's going on there or any other kind of um, expenses came up. It just makes me feel more comfortable having that cash on hand. So that's my budget for 2026, and 2025 looks a lot like this, but it's different because I worked for part of the year, and um, But overall, it's about the same. All right, thanks.
Bloqueamos a everybody. Bye.